in your guys' opinion, where do you think we are in this cycle of maturity and adoption for blockchain? And that can be in supply chain, it could be in a different use case for it, or with what you guys are working on. But how do you guys see that really shaping up as we move into 2021?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Alan addressed that in some ways, but I'm going to address it differently, which is, well, first of all, because I never answer the question, of course, I always go off my own, Brandon. But first of all, we are incredible advocates for education. And I think that is part of the process of adopting any new technology. But we do, as explained, work with AI and with IoT and with machine learning and so on. It's all one, it's integrated solutions. And last year, we trained 3,000 people in blockchain, just by way of example, as our commitment to education at top Indian colleges and other colleges. And so what we're thinking is that we're at that point where we need to start generating a support universe and an informed universe of individuals and organizations that understand enough to at least consider using these technologies and using these solutions. So where's it all sort of headed to? The pandemic, which has obviously changed thinking, has really turbocharged people's understanding of different industries, but in particular supply chain logistics and trade. And so if you look at the importance of integrated trade integrating finance and supply chain, it has never been higher. We also have a need for agility, given geopolitical affiliations that keep changing. And people need to get what they need to get. And you got to get it from this country or that country. And you don't play around if you're dealing with a pandemic. You need to survive. And we were helping out on the PPE side here in Canada and in the US, and figuring out where to source and how to do it quickly and with confidence. So I think that what it boils down to is, there's a classic importance to any new technology, but it's all underpinned by, and I don't want to, underemphasize this, return on investment. You have to get a return because you're looking at competing priorities. It's never, now it's time to use blockchain. Now it's time to use artificial intelligence. It's in a universe of competing requirements and priorities. And where I think it's headed to is, I believe this is going to become a higher on the list of considerations. And I think if people, the one thing that would make me very happy would be if I could tell you the ROI for what we did at Walmart Canada, because if we could, we'd have every Fortune 500 company lined up outside the door every morning. And we've got a lot of them already, but we'd have them all. So I think as it becomes more apparent and more accepted, and there are more third parties, all the great consulting organizations and groups that spend their life assessing and presenting the value, I think it's going to become at least high on the list of a consideration.
Yeah. I guess the one thing that I'll add in my research that I've been doing over the last couple years for a book I have coming out next year, I came across this concept that was very consistent. I call it the disruptor trifecta. And that is, for organizations to be successful, they need to have three things in their executive team. They need to have good judgment. They need to have the experience in their industry. They need to know their industry, and they have to be technically savvy. And what I mean by technically savvy is you don't need to be able to, code in Python, but you need to know how these new technologies we've been talking about today change what's possible. Because if you don't, then you're making decisions, off of an incomplete set of information. And what I found was, in the companies that are really succeeding, they have executives that have all three of those things. Many incumbent companies, however, they're their executives are always really smart. They always know their industry, but they're missing this one other thing. I've also worked a lot when I was working with UPS Ventures with a lot of startups. And they're all technically savvy. They all are very smart, but they typically don't know the industry that well. They fail too. And so as companies are thinking about, how they move forward, they've got to shore up and have all three of these elements to unlock these things that Loudon has been talking about and to truly embrace it.